What's up? It's your boy Domuto. We're back with another video. Today we're watching Salad saying, "What if all Saiyans were good?" Part 7 and 8. Yes, sir. I'm ready to get into it. I forgot where we left off. Turtles and Frieza was fighting. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So we'll get into it. Lego. Damn it.
Frieza's pretty curious.
Like, comment,
what
and
is this form
subscribe.
Turles is showing? This is definitely new.
Please.
He's only ever seen Saiyans become great apes. Well, Turles could say the same thing for Frieza. He's never seen anything like this before. Frieza asks outright, is he the Super Saiyan of legend? Turles says he definitely is not. Great. Frieza has no reason to be worried then. He honestly doesn't know what to expect from the Super Saiyan, but if this isn't that, then this definitely isn't a legend. Turles begs to differ though. This is still legendary, just in a different way. The two begin their battle. Golden Frieza versus Evil Saiyan Turles. Of course, it's a pretty explosive fight, and pretty much everything around them is destroyed immediately. But far away all across the galaxy, Vegeta's crew is all together, of course, and they sense something strange going on. Why could they feel this all the way out here? Whatever they're sensing definitely isn't close, but it's also definitely really powerful. And that gets them concerned too, because they can't tell whose ki that is that's fighting. The last time they saw Frieza, they weren't able to sense ki, so they don't know what Frieza's ki feels like. Although, this ki kind of feels similar to King Cold, and it's definitely really evil. Also, much higher than King Cold's ever was. But it's not just that power they're sensing. They assume that first one is Frieza. The second one feels completely different. It's something unrecognizable. There's some sort of other enemy out there. Someone who's strong enough to fight Frieza, even with Frieza's new level of power. This is concerning for a few reasons. There's an unknown enemy out there who has a gripe with Frieza, and maybe he's related to the Saiyans somehow. Or even has a gripe with them too. But as for Frieza, they can feel his power, and it's really high. Even with all their power combined at the moment, that definitely wouldn't be enough to fight Frieza as he is now. They really need to kick things into high gear. And whatever's going on out there, they hope it's going to work in their favor. They don't know who Frieza's fighting, but hopefully they win. The enemy of their enemy is their friend, even though they don't know Turles is actually a Saiyan like them. The fight rages on. Frieza's pretty surprised to see a Saiyan this strong, especially after getting this strong in his golden form. He thought no one would be able to defeat him, but this guy's contending with him really easily. Plus, unlike normal Saiyans, Turles is actually able to fight out in space. Seems like a good side effect of this form. This allows him to fight Frieza on a much larger scale, and also lets him avoid being killed if the planet's destroyed. But as the fight continues to rage on, Frieza loses power. He doesn't have full control over his golden form yet, and Turles actually does have an edge in terms of raw strength, much to Frieza's surprise. He doesn't know what this Saiyan did to get that strong, and he's never seen anything like this power before. But Turles finishes off the fight, penetrating a hand through Frieza's chest, and launching a powerful blast through it, leaving him floating out there in the vacuum of space. Frieza powers down into his regular final form, floating there seemingly lifeless. Good. That's one less loose end. Turles still has a lot more to accomplish, but it's nice that he got to fight Frieza. He didn't think he would be that powerful, but it's just a testament to how strong his Evil Saiyan form is too. And even without having his whole squad anymore, it's fine. Turles can make do. He leaves Frieza floating out there in space, and then goes towards his ship. This doesn't seem to be his main ship, but he takes it back to Frieza's main base, locating that, and then raiding it for all the info he can get. He doesn't actually kill a lot of the soldiers, especially because a lot of them evacuate before Turles even gets there. But Frieza's dealt with, and all he wants is the info that Frieza has. And Frieza does have a lot of historical data on the Saiyans, including Saiyan legends too, which is exactly what he needs. He wants to look more into Saiyan history. He got what he wanted, and then some. But he also needs to find those other Saiyans that are out there. He quite likes this evil side of himself too, being consumed by the power that comes along with it. As for what's going to happen when he meets those Saiyans, well, he doesn't know for sure. Knowing Saiyan history with how the evil Saiyans fought the good Saiyans, they probably will fight. There's no way they're going to be allies. Turles has come to accept that, but it would be nice to have more Saiyans on his side. He does have some other things he needs to do though, although there is still a loose end. Turles didn't kill Frieza. He thought he did. What he doesn't realize is that Frieza is really durable. Frieza is pretty badly injured, and yeah, he powered down, but he didn't die. He's not going to die from this, nor will he bleed out from this. Actually, this injury isn't really that bad considering what we've seen Frieza go through in the main series. But he doesn't have a lot of power left, and he's kind of just stranded there. Thankfully for him, some of his army is still around, and they eventually do locate Frieza. He's alive, not in great condition, but still alive. And unlike what happened after Namek, it's not like he needs a bunch of cybernetic parts. But it is going to take some time for him to heal, especially because they have less resources now. Frieza's army is still active, but at the same time it's slowly crumbling. They've lost King Cold. They've lost a bunch of soldiers. Frieza nearly just died, and if Turles actually stayed around to finish the job, he definitely wouldn't have survived this encounter.
You wouldn't have died.
If they want to have any hope of winning, things need to change.
You wouldn't have
really
had to survive that.
Let's go back to our main group of Saiyans. Of course, they sensed this from all the way across the galaxy. The fact that they even felt that is really surprising, and that tells them whoever they're dealing with is way too strong for them. But it seems like whoever was just fighting Frieza killed him, because Frieza's power just disappeared, and the other guy's power was still around. None of the Saiyans has a clue of what they just felt. Bardock's the first to say something. He doesn't know if Frieza was actually defeated. Like, it feels like that, but they can't really trust their ki sense from that far away. He could still be alive. All they know is that Frieza's ki disappeared. The fight could have ended some other way. They really don't know for sure, and they shouldn't take this as a sign that Frieza's actually dead right now.
True.
The other Saiyans agree, especially the older ones wanting to be more careful. And they remember what they saw with King Cold too. He was able to really take a beating, so there's no way Frieza was killed just like that. Paragus thinks this isn't a sign that Frieza's dead. They can't take it at face value and believe it. They need to 100% guarantee it and confirm that he really is dead. And of course Vegeta sees another big problem. That other power. They don't know who it was. And it's not like it's easy to narrow it down either because first of all, they don't even know of anyone who would be that strong. And in terms of people who have beef with Frieza, well, a lot of people would. So there's a lot of people with a lot of reasons to kill Frieza. Whoever that was, they're not guaranteed to be a good guy, much less an ally to them.
Still
Either way,
good.
they need to get moving. They need to figure out how to get stronger, quicker. Because in the event that Frieza's still alive, or in the event that enemies are going to come for them, they need to be strong enough to fight. So, what happens after this? Well, time passes. A lot of it actually. Years go by. Everything's pretty much at a stalemate. It's not like Vegeta can make a wish to revive the Saiyans either, because if Frieza still is alive, then that's going to be for nothing. He'll have to get to the other Saiyans later. Granola ends up returning to Cereal too, but tells the Saiyans he's always there if they need his help. He likes working with them, and Vegeta and Tarbo are like brothers to him. So, eternally he will be an ally to them. But for now, at least he could return to his peace. Once the time comes to fight, he'll be there to help.
Okay.
This happens because the Saiyans pretty much have their own permanent place now. There hasn't been any sign of Frieza over these past few years, but he's active again. The army is definitely out there. So the Saiyans found this new planet in a completely different galaxy, and they decided to settle down here for a bit. They still need to find out who fought Frieza though. As for Frieza himself, he's recovered a long time ago. He actually hasn't really trained much. He's purely dedicated himself to finding Turles. But ever since their fight, Turles has been a ghost. He's not even focused on the other Saiyans anymore. It's like he's focused purely on this one thing. But while he's not physically training a lot, mentally he's at least working on his golden form, trying to get better control of that. He feels like that might be why he lost last time, so he's working on it. But it's not like his training in Hell. When Frieza was in Hell in the main story, that's really all he could do, just mental training. Here, Frieza still is running an empire, and he has a lot on his mind, so he's not going to fully master the golden form right away. And it's definitely not going to be easy either. As for the Saiyans, they've all grown significantly too. There's been a lot of training over this time. They've all gone beyond Super Saiyan by now, discovering Super Saiyan 2, and of course perfecting the original Super Saiyan form. A few of them have even gotten access to a brand new form, Super Saiyan 3. And thanks to the Saiyans all having their tails still, besides Paragus and Broly at least, they could utilize Super Saiyan 3 much more easily than normal. And as for Broly, he's kind of gotten a control on his power. He's actually accessed his own Super Saiyan form, which was really tough for them to control, especially because they had to fight Broly in the process, but they've kind of made it work. He's still the strongest of the group by far, but he also has more room to grow, especially because Super Saiyan isn't his ceiling. That's just another stepping stone. Living on this planet, even if it's going to be temporary, has been pretty nice. The chances of them being found by the Frieza Force are incredibly slim, and they basically have this entire solar system to themselves, which is also great for resources because they could just go to the other planets and get them if they need. As far as they can tell, they're the only intelligent life forms around this area. It's pretty much a dead zone. One day Vegeta tries to survey the area around them more. This will be better for planning. In the event they do have to fight, they want to know everything about the planets around them because that could be used for an ambush, either against them, or they could utilize that in their favor. The Saiyans have considered going back to Earth, but they don't want to draw any attention there. Earth doesn't deserve to have those problems. Maybe they'll return someday though, at least when this war is all over. But Vegeta continues looking around here, just to verify that the planets around them are actually safe and there's no one on them. As the leader, he's also taking initiative, which is why he's going on his own. As far as he could tell, all the planets around them are empty. But on one of the ones he lands on, some thing attacks him. It's not an enemy or anything. He actually doesn't really feel any ki going along with it. But there's a small animal that ends up scratching him. It's some really weird alien animal, but it's an alien, so probably not too weird. He doesn't know what to expect out here. The cut he got isn't that bad, and he just leaves the animal be. But again, just looking at it, something about it's off. Like, it's acting really intelligently, and its eyes look weird. Maybe he's just being paranoid. At the very least, he should disinfect this, so he goes back to his ship and gets ready to return home. But he starts feeling really weird. Like, it feels like something's crawling around in that cut. What the hell attacked him? Well, that animal was normal, but someone else was controlling it. Little does Vegeta know, for a while, he and the Saiyans were under watch by somebody. Not Frieza, but someone else. And after all this time, the enemy finally had the opportunity to strike. Vegeta returns to the planet, and no one could really see anything weird with him. He's acting normal, but almost a little too normal. And Vegeta's glancing around at everyone, trying to figure out what his next plan is here. What they don't realize is that Vegeta's actually fighting for control right now. He's been taken over by an external parasite. And finally, after all this time, he can get his revenge on the Saiyans. This actually goes pretty far back. Remember in the beginning of the story I mentioned that King Cold would stage wars against other species? While the Saiyans were good, they still did fight a bunch of wars, and one of them was against a group called the Tuffles. That part of Saiyan history is still there. This war actually isn't that old, it was in the same century. Not too long before Planet Vegeta was destroyed, in fact. The Saiyans weren't nearly as ruthless, of course, but King Cold was using them like puppets, essentially. He started a conflict, and it turned to a war between the two species, with the Saiyans ending up winning that war. But there was still one survivor of the Tuffles, rather, a contingency plan that was mechanically engineered. A project called Baby, the last remain of the Tuffles. Unbeknownst to the Saiyans, he's been stalking them for a while, and he wanted to possess one of them somehow. Thankfully, he got his chance, and he took over Vegeta's body. He could never fight Vegeta directly, so what he did is follow him to this planet, then taking over another animal on the planet and scratching Vegeta that way, then entering Vegeta's body through the cut and taking over. Baby was able to take full control of Vegeta, which is why he looks normal now. He's completely suppressed, and he's merged with his body fully. Right now, he's just trying to figure out what he can do against the Saiyans. What is the best way to strike back against them? He needs to learn even more about them, and then work on a good strategy. He can't reveal his hand just yet, but he can start infecting others pretty soon. And once he does so, he'll get much stronger himself. He'll be able to power this body up even further, and then he'll get rid of every last Saiyan. At long last, the Tuffles will finally get their revenge, using Vegeta as their own weapon no less. It's kind of ironic, the Saiyan Prince being the thing to finally destroy them after so long. As for what else is out there, he's not sure. Maybe he knows nothing about Frieza or Turles or anything like that. As far as he knows, this is the only group of Saiyans out there, and he just wants to get rid of them. Sort of like Frieza, but for different reasons, and with a much different method. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What did you guys think about this part? Baby's already overcome the hardest
part. Part 8, what if all Saiyans were good?
With it being Prince Vegeta, no less. A pretty huge feat. But he can't relax just yet. No, he still has a ways to go. Slowly but surely, he has to infect some of the other Saiyans, and also be covert while doing so. The first one he's able to get is one of Vegeta's closest men, Nappa. Occasionally they have one-on-one time. They are pretty close after all, which is the perfect opening for him to take over Nappa next. And now with 2 people under his control, he could spread even further. Soon enough, he's able to lure the new recruits in, Bardock's squad, the ones that they just got, calling them for a meeting and framing it like he's going to tell them a lot of info because they still need to be caught up on some things. Over that time skip we recently passed, they were found out in space and added to the Saiyans group. Vegeta and Nappa ambush them, infecting them as well. Slowly, Baby's collecting more power. Eventually, it spreads to Raditz and Guinea too. And now he has a good chunk of the group infected, just about half of them. But most importantly, he still has Vegeta. Vegeta isn't the strongest of the group, but he's one of the strongest. And there's a lot of power deep within him. Reason that the Saiyans have gone beyond Super Saiyan, of course, getting Super Saiyan 2 and 3. And Baby could use that with Vegeta, but there's something beyond that he could probably get too. He can grow even further. After some of Bardock's studies on Broly's power, he figured out that a lot of his power comes from great apes, so the other Saiyans went back to that form, trying to see if there's anything else they could do with that. Of course, this is Vegeta's knowledge, so it's Baby's knowledge now too. He could definitely use this going forward. And while he's pretty covert so far, now a good chunk of the group is acting weird, and he's getting a little too ahead of himself, so it becomes more obvious. The first one to notice is Bardock. He's been around Guinea enough. He knows she's not acting normal. Same with Raditz. Thankfully, Kakarot seems to be fine, but he could also see the same things. Something's wrong with them. And Baby decides his cover's been blown. Not a big deal. Now he doesn't have to hide anymore. Seemingly at random, a fight breaks out. Guinea and Raditz versus Bardock and Kakarot. Bardock yells out to the others, saying there's something wrong with them. Shallot and Giblet get involved and try to help. But Shugesh and Tora step in. Then Paragus tries to get involved, but Nappa and Leek go after him. Broly, Giblet, and Tarble are left a bit confused, so Tarble goes to Vegeta. But Baby's a lot less inconspicuous now, and Tarble can clearly tell something's off with Vegeta. He's been weird for a while. Not completely weird, but weird enough that Tarble hasn't noticed. He didn't think anything of it, though. But whatever he's looking at right now, it's not his older brother. At least not in terms of his mind. Baby begins powering up. He proclaims the revenge of the Tuffles has begun. This is where the
Oh shit!
The point in which Baby gets to control everything. Now a complete battle begins. The entire faction is split. Bardock, Kakarot, Paragus, Broly, Shallot, Giblet, and Tarble are against the others, all of whom have been possessed by Baby, led by Baby Vegeta, of course. The infected Saiyans all go Super Saiyan. For some reason, Vegeta's the target, but why? They have no clue what's even going on. But it clicks with Bardock and Paragus. This guy mentioned something about the Tuffles. As 2 of the older Saiyans, they do remember hearing about this. It was part of Saiyan history. Formerly, the Saiyans did have a war against the Tuffles. Now, there were some conspiracies surrounding it, and how King Cold was involved, but that's not really important at the moment. What's important is that they know there was a war against the Tuffles at one point. And they also know that the Tuffles were wiped out. From what they were taught, the Tuffles were the aggressors. Of course, King Cold staged everything. Either way, it's all connecting now. Somehow, the Tuffles had one last project, or one last survivor. Whoever it is, or whatever it is, it's now using the Saiyans as weapons against themselves. This is a really tricky situation. They need to figure out how to defeat the other Saiyans without killing them because it's still using their bodies. Whatever or whoever this thing is, he can kind of utilize them as meat shields. Thankfully, Broly hasn't been affected. As the strongest Saiyan, that is really going to be helpful. Broly goes up against Vegeta. Knowing Broly's one of the stronger ones, Baby of course wants to take over him too, but he does have trouble. By just using the power of Super Saiyan, he can't really contend with Broly, but that doesn't matter. He now has much more power and transforms into Super Baby. But by now, Broly has much more control over his power. He still is a bit concerned about it, especially in a dire situation like this, but he thinks he could handle himself. He then transforms, using his wrathful state. Baby finds this fascinating. He's using the power of a great ape, but in a much different manner. Well, it kind of makes sense. He is one of the few Saiyans without tails, but it's probably not because of that. Of course, he siphons energy from the others. And with the rest of the group subdued, as well as with their power being stolen, soon enough they aren't threats anymore, and Baby Vegeta is the sole threat. But still, that leaves a good chunk of the group out of commission. The previously uninfected people are the only ones still fighting, with Broly being at the forefront of it all. The others do try to help as much as they can, but Baby is far beyond anything they've ever fought before, especially because he transforms even further. Once he siphons even more power, he becomes Super Baby too, and he's still growing. This is enough to even push Broly, making him utilize Super Saiyan, which he's never used in a serious battle before, at least in his controlled state. The other Saiyans are also at the peak of their power too, with them utilizing Super Saiyan 2 and 3. Thanks to still having tails, they can use Super Saiyan 3 pretty well, besides Paragus. Baby starts picking off the group one by one. Tarble tries to do anything he can to get to Vegeta, but Vegeta's completely possessed. He can't do anything to save his brother. He's one of the first to go down. Then goes Paragus and Kakarot. They're not killed yet, just simply defeated by Baby's might. Bardock, Shallot, and Giblet are still standing, with the twins being targeted next. Baby goes about this kind of randomly, first taking down Giblet, then Bardock. Broly's still fighting too, of course, and he's the main event. And briefly, he does hold off Baby for a bit, but Baby does have one more transformation up his sleeve, or at least an idea for a transformation. Seeing Broly utilizing that power of Great Ape, he decides to try it for himself too. What would that power look like on him? And can he grow even stronger? Using some of his power, he creates an artificial moon, throwing it up into the sky. Vegeta still does have his tail, so this is all he needs. Aiming to decimate everyone, Baby then transforms into a Great Ape, trying to power up on top of that as well, showcasing Golden Great Ape. He did this kind of on a whim, and it ends up working perfectly. And with this, he easily decimates Broly. The others get up and try to fight, but they can't really do much. Although, Shallot's in the best shape of all of them, which kind of leaves him in a bad position because he's terrified right now. He thinks he's definitely going to die here, but he's still not deterred. He tries to fight as much as he can. Someone then places a hand on him. Giblet stands up. He's not going to be able to fight much any longer, so he channels some of his energy into Shallot. Make use of it, or at the very least, try and give this to Broly. The others join in. Kakarot stands up. He's grown pretty fond of Shallot, and he thinks he's got this. He's confident in his comrade and in his friend.
Okay.
And Bardock's right there with Kakarot. Paragus joins in too. Shallot needs to help Broly in any way possible. He can't let Broly die. And finally, Tarble lends his energy too. Shallot of course has his own brother, and he can completely understand what Tarble's feeling like right now. Imagine if that was Giblet being possessed. Everyone's counting on Shallot, and he gladly accepts their power. They all channel their energy into him, expecting to just give him a small boost in power, whatever they can to help. It's probably not going to be much, but still, they gotta do something. But there's a weird thing that happens. They feel a strange power surging throughout all of them, with Shallot being the recipient of that too. The rage he's feeling towards Baby slowly subsides, being replaced with something that's almost calm, but also a new weird type of energy flows through him. It's so strange, he's never felt this before, but at the same time it does feel familiar, and very comforting. And while he's not the recipient of this power, Giblet also kind of feels it too. Like there's something familiar awakening within him, or at least his brother. Broly's on the ground, pretty badly beaten. Despite his amazing power, he cannot contend with Great Ape Baby at the moment. Baby stands over him laughing, about to crush him under his foot. And he can sense the weak power of the other Super Saiyans, but Shallot's power suddenly disappears. Broly wonders what's happening, but he looks over and sees a weird glow nearby. Baby can't really sense anything either, but he could see something happening. There's a fiery red glow in the distance, and then he hears a voice in the air. That red glow disappears, like it moved over here. Somehow it moved over here that quickly, and he didn't even sense it. He turns towards whoever's talking to him, and Broly looks up too, seeing Shallot floating there, but he looks a little different. His hair's red, and he can't sense his ki. Baby then gets punched in the face by Shallot, nearly sent flying into space with so much power, and Shallot didn't even realize he had that much strength within it. But he's able to move quickly enough to actually catch Baby. He can't let Vegeta's body go into space. Broly watches on confused, and the other Saiyans come over to join him. He asks what happened, and they're not too sure either. They just lend their energy to him, and he suddenly transformed into something else. Unbeknownst to them, they accidentally performed the Super Saiyan God ritual. Shallot has become a Super Saiyan God. They can't sense his power either, but now he's far beyond Baby in terms of strength, and he actually beats Baby surprisingly quickly, causing him to escape Vegeta's body, returning back to a new form. He doesn't really have many options left, and he definitely can't infect Shallot at the moment. Not to mention, Charlotte has more than enough power to kill him at the moment. Panicked, he tries to leave as fast as possible, flying off into the distance, but Charlotte simply sticks a hand out, launching a powerful blast of ki. And he can barely hold back the blast. He doesn't realize how much strength he has still. The blast sends Charlotte flying back, leaving a massive crater where he's standing, but also illuminating the entire planet. The beam careens far out into space, and in the process getting rid of Baby. Nobody knows what just happened, but hopefully they get some answers soon. Far away, in a completely separate part of the universe, there's a replay of the fight being watched. It's Whis, watching it in his staff. He's actually showing it to Beerus, who just recently woke up. He set his alarm clock for this time because he was told a rival would appear around now, and hearing that he was attacked by someone, he's really pissed. He hopes that person didn't kill his rival. Thankfully, the Saiyans are all still alive. But that's not the only discovery that's been made recently. Around the same time, a badly injured Baby is floating throughout space. He wasn't completely destroyed by the blast. Thankfully, with Charlotte firing it kinda sloppily, the power wasn't too concentrated and it didn't just completely eradicate him, although it was strong enough to send him to the opposite end of the universe. But Baby feels another strong power approaching him, which is weird. He doesn't know who could be this strong, but what great luck that he found someone that strong. Maybe he could take over whoever this person is and continue his plans. Although, it seems he really isn't that lucky. The person he sees is another Saiyan, Turles. Without a moment's hesitation, Baby tries to take over him. Turles was on the search for something and, thanks to all his tech, he detected a really strange reading out in space, which led him to Baby. And, not knowing what Baby's powers are, Turles is kinda caught by surprise, then being taken over by Baby. Only very briefly though. Baby's already pretty badly weakened, and even worse, Baby doesn't realize Turles is the perfect counter for him. Turles is so in tune with his body and his power by now that he simply powers up. His evil energy basically acts as poison to Baby, and Baby has no clue how this is possible. He hasn't encountered anything like this before. For a brief moment he does become Baby Turles, but through Turles' raw power and willpower, his own evil energy completely eradicates Baby, cleansing himself with the negative energy. Turles has no clue of what that was or who that was, nor does he really care. Baby's been completely extinguished, dying with a whimper inside of Turles. Anyways, Turles continues his search, and he finally discovered what he's been looking for, an ancestor of his, who's been long locked away. Amidst the fight between the good and the evil Saiyans long ago, the good ones won thanks to help from the Super Saiyan God. Turles doesn't know much, but this is what he's uncovered so far in his search for Saiyan history. Although, just as the good Saiyans had someone like that on their side, there was one person like that was the pinnacle of the evil Saiyans, with uncontrollable power and one of the biggest forces on their side. And thanks to the Super Saiyan God, he was defeated. But he never was killed. At first, Turles thought that was the case, and he at least wanted to find remains of the guy, if any existed, because that could really help him in his research, and could definitely help him grow stronger in the process. Especially with this guy being so powerful, Turles wanted to study his body if there was anything left of him. It took a while, which is why he hasn't found anything until now. He had to chart the path that this guy might have taken, and figure out where he was defeated. This took a lot. He first had to figure out where the fight took place, then the time it took place, then the exact location of the planet at that time, and then any of the various paths that this guy could have taken. He could have died on the planet. He could have been sent flying out into space. He could have been sent far away. He could have exploded into a bunch of pieces. Turles doesn't know for sure, so he's been looking for everything. And thanks to a lot of the high-tech things he's gotten from the Frieza Force, that made it a bit easier for him.
Okay.
And he eventually found something. He at least wanted to find a part of this guy's body, but he ended up finding way more than he expected. It seems he actually was sent flying out through space, and his body's perfectly intact. Not just that, it doesn't seem like he died. He was actually frozen, cryogenically preserved after being frozen solid. He landed on a harsh planet not too far from where the ancient Saiyans once lived. It was at the edge of the solar system, and it seems like he got caught by the orbit of that planet. Then, being pulled in by its immense gravity, crash landing there. This planet's incredibly harsh. Turles puts a cloak on. It is cold here. It's at the edge of the solar system, there's constant harsh ice storms, and it's so cold here that pretty much any element freezes. Not to mention the gravity here is really intense. Not for Turles, but it's about 1,000 times what he's used to. No wonder he was pulled in by the orbit here. And Turles uncovers the ancient Saiyan, using his own ki to thaw him out, wondering what he's about to awaken. He doesn't know this guy's name, but they're connected. They're both part of the evil Saiyan lineage.
Cucumber.
This guy is an ancestor to him. And as Turles lends his own evil ki to him, he could feel a slight amount of power surging within the evil Saiyan. He's actually being revived. Just as the Super Saiyan gods have finally awoken, the ancient legendary evil Saiyan has as well. Turles has found Cumber. And this is where we'll leave off for now. What'd you guys think about this?
Oh, he about to add everybody in this bitch. He added everybody in this bitch. Okay, Charlotte Shan, do your writing then. Anyway, I like this. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out the last chapter. And yeah, I'll catch y'all next time, man. Peace.